have Mark introduce himself. I'm a registered nurse. I have been here at the College of Nursing since 1994. My role is the pre-licensure program director and assistant dean of the undergraduate nursing program here at UW-Marnocha. I teach half-time, and I also then do administration half-time. One of the things that Mark and I have done that we have enjoyed very much is we teach together, we do research together, and we publish together. And just recently, our esteemed Becky Cleveland and Chrissy Lambie are part of the research team, and we will shortly have an article coming out in the press regarding how to be best, your best selves in an online environment. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you, Becky.
Oh, you need to.
Let you know, sorry, that there are enough handouts, so I will make more at school. If you'd like one, come by our undergrad office and they'll be at the student desk.
And then if you don't want your handout, just make sure you leave them with Becky so she can do something for other people. Okay? And then I'll have Dr. Mark introduce himself.
All right. I've been teaching family medicine residents for, 35 plus years. And I also taught a few years at Luther College over in Decorah. I used to do some adjunct teaching in the early 90s with the psychology department here, so I've always enjoyed teaching. Working with family medicine has been nice because there's a psychologist in-house who also sees patients along with the family medicine residents in training. So all my referrals don't come from outside, they come from the practice that is run by our faculty and by our residents. I also get to teach the residents about evidence-based medicine and biostats. It's kind of nice. That means I can teach them statistics that help them understand their research, and I also can teach them poetry, humanities, and how to process unfinished business. So I've got both shoulders of the road. I can't go wrong. You know, they go over here, and the affective stuff, we do that. They want to get evidence-based, I can help them with that. It's great. I don't know where else I can do that. So we've done a lot of things research-wise, and I also have a part time at the VA clinic in Appleton, so I see a fair amount of folks with PTSD or other service-connected disabilities.
So this particular topic came to us as a gift from the Wisconsin Nurses Association. I highly encourage all of you to join the State Nurses Organization and then the Wisconsin Nurses Organization. Wisconsin Nurses Association is your professional nursing organization that represents all nurses around the state, and it is your obligation to become a member. So part of the Wisconsin Nurses Association, one of our subcommittees that we serve on is called the Mentorship Committee. I've been on that for about 5 years. And we sponsor a program called Surviving Your First Year. And it's intended to help new, soon-to-be graduated RNs, soon-to-be graduated nursing students that have been in nursing school and that are graduating, or nurses that are about a year out, help them understand that transition. And we do a segment of that workshop called Strategies for Managing Stress and Dealing with Conflict, or Bullying and Burnout. So we're modifying it quite a bit for you and shortening it for you tonight and giving you some of our wisdom on this topic. So, great. Questions before we get started? Kind of captive. It's kind of fun. I love it. Okay. It's an Apple computer, so I don't know. It shows up at the top. If I hit that red button, is that going to be okay? Or is it going to close? Just don't do it. Just hit that down here. But the sense of urgency in your voice was very good. And as a very perceptive nurse, I'm like, thank you.
And having been through the audiovisual struggles here, well, I'm like, whoa! I told one of your colleagues, one of your leaders, this is why you have the sim lab. So you don't have to make mistakes and go into anxiety attacks in the real world.
Yeah, you can get it over in simulation.
That's right. That's right. Well, we don't use that.
So in this particular picture, one thing we want to about the country we work about, and we get to really enjoy the beauty of nature. But sometimes when Mark gets his camera out, he can capture these fabulous pictures that talk about our life's journeys.
Why don't you think, we do a lot of writing workshops. I do that with our folks in training. We've done writing stuff with, who's taken the images class?
Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3,
Rock.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Do you remember doing some writing there? And some sharing? And that hopefully will remain useful. So, at any rate, why don't you just shout out about 4 or 5 words about what was the turning point in getting you here into this place on your path?
As far as nursing school.
Yep.
Or pre-nursing.
Studying.
Oh, yeah.
What else?
Support.
Support. Great. What else?
That's it. Coffee. Absolutely. Yes. Go, coffee.
Caffeine, it's a good drug of choice. I recommend it over most others. Thank you.
Perseverance.
Big part?
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Oh, yes. Absolutely.
OCD is not necessarily a disorder. What else? Speak spontaneously. Go for it. It's a pit, but don't be in the
Hi,
pit.
you guys. I hear you up there thinking, I know you.
Okay, my students in caring. Where is that?
Okay, I'll ask you one more question. Who has somebody in their family, their extended family, aunt, uncle, grandparent, living dead, that's influenced how they got here and where they hope to go with where they are now? Hands up, please. Good. Good. Thank you much. Because that's all part of this road, and you really don't know where it's going to go, but I'll tell you right now, anything that's important for you today, if you keep yourself alive and vital and head off burnout, it's going to be very important to you in the future in ways you can't even imagine today. So don't park any part of yourself. Take care of your emotional well-being. Take care of things that go beyond just the next exam. Don't forget the next exam.
Before you go on, I did call upon my students in caring to maybe mention that concept. But I want you to know that when we interview students, and I talk to students in my office, the thing that comes most clear to me for most of the students coming to our program is that they want to make a difference in people's lives. They have that intrinsic need, that compassion and passion for something. And nobody said that, except puppies. I mean, that's pretty
But that's important. Puppies are so important.
And I would like it if family physicians graduating from my program were all as wonderfully caring, conscientious, and gentle as the best veterinarians we have.
Have you ever said that to puppies, people with puppies, that I wish my vet could be my healthcare provider? I say that all the time.
Yeah, and if I have to go into a nursing home looking for a hospice, I'd be glad to be,
Yes.
But it's true, end-of-life care, vets do that, just like nurses and physicians, especially primary care docs. Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, the path is nice, but there's always some things that you gotta look out for. This is not unique to Wisconsin. But essentially, what we're going to talk about a little bit are some of the hazards out there, and we're going to try to give you a rationale for these hazards. Now, the one thing I won't say anything more about, when we looked at the literature, how many of you have heard of JACO, the Joint Commission for the Accreditation of Hospitals? If you've worked anywhere, when they say JACO, it's kind of like, oh my God, we're being invaded by the Russians and we aren't sure why. It's terrifying. But JACO had a thing that came out last year that said that one of the most important causes of errors is dysfunctional communication and conflict among healthcare teams. So, I want to kind of give this again some evidence that says how you create and maintain connections, how you resolve conflict, how you reach out to people, and also how you try to be an advocate, kind of like what Dr. Suzanne was saying about your leadership role. Really makes differences that go way beyond Did I get my charting done? Did I pass it down? What was it? I don't know. Those are important, right?
Well, absolutely.
Okay, but it's equally important to communicate and develop people skills.
Absolutely. Right.
Okay, now, some introductory concepts. Living. At the most basic thing, stress is anything that makes your body put out some effort at adapting. Did anybody have to change the way they walked over here tonight? Why? Snow. And why would you have to change that? Because you said, if I fall and hit my head hard enough, everything's going to be bad. Correct? How many of you walk carefully? How many of you thought about how good are the treads on my shoes and what happens if I hit the shiny floor? You hear what I'm saying? Now that was automatic. A lot of automatic coping with stress is never even noticed. Just like you may have to really work on maintaining your level of consciousness in a pit lecture hall because
The end of a long day.
it's natural. It's not
Cookies.
So it's kind of like Ambien in a chair. So thank you, people.
People talking in front, it's kind of warm.
So living is stress. And stress really can be broken down into two kinds of stress. Distress, oh no. Or eustress. Eu is like euthymic, euphoric, it means healthy or good. Euphoria is super good emotion. Eustress is go. It's the kind of stress we feel good taking on. Now, ideally, some of your skills, academic skills, people skills, nursing skills, will start to feel more like eustress than distress as they get more practiced. Automatic coping really helps us get stress into the comfort zone. So you need to really, it isn't just a matter of stress, is there distress and discomfort. Distress, and this is even for people who are well practiced in whatever part of this journey you're on, can be overload, too much to do, too many competing demands, loss of control. I thought I had it together, and then, oh my gosh, pharmacology hit. Inadequate skills. Now, let me tell you right now, distress is not the same as dysfunction. It's what you do with that is what's really important. Lack of meaning, lack of support. That's why even though you may be the greatest individual student, everything you're going to do from this day forward will depend on the team you're with and the context you're in.
So the other day, one of my students coined it so well. We were in simulation, and she said, always have a buddy, but pick a smart one. So my new words that I coined at SimLab are, pick a smart buddy. That's also good when you're studying. Pick a smart buddy.
So in addition to smart buddies, find buddies who you can trust.
Oh, trust
And
me.
you can say any dang thing to them, and they'll understand it. In fact, they might even understand it better than when you said it. How many of you have friends or buddies like that? You can start saying, oh, for the love of fruit, and they say, ah. Is that right? You smile about that. Who was that person? Who listens to you that way? Who's that understand that?
My friends in my class. Yeah, my class. Like
Sweet.
year 2, and we're just like.
So this has brought some people together. Yeah, and that's really important because you want to be able to do that here. You want to do that with your clinical groups. You want to do that with your employment and your teams. And when you go out to get your DNP or your CRNA, you also have this.
Or your PhD.
Yeah.
Don't forget to leave.
Yep.
And tenure at Oshkosh.
Yes. Teach you to teach.
So, what turns distress into eustress is having a match of the intensity in our skills. How many of you have found that happening in courses or in some of your clinical skills already? You sort of say, oh, I think I can kind of handle this. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable with it. Yeah, suddenly, it's kind of like, I kind of enjoy this. And I don't care what that is. Pressures, doesn't matter. Meaningful and rewarding in a sense of mastery. So, with eustress, this has also been called flow. When something becomes rewarding in and of itself, there's a very good match between what our skills are and what's expected, and it feels like it's meaningful. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is burnout. And at least in nursing and other healthcare areas, when people feel that they cannot control the pace of their work, the work is very inefficient, we have a lot of family doctors getting major burnout because have you been to a doctor lately? You've been to a doctor lately. This is,
Nurse practitioners only for me.
and nurse practitioners can run into the same darn thing. And basically, they sit down and what do they start to do first?
Chart.
And they talk to you, and then they have to go like this. And unfortunately, we're expecting them to do more social, more mental health, more mind-body stuff, more chronic disease management. But the computer demands time from them. So that's one of the reasons we're seeing major burnout in the primary care setting. And that is not just our MDDO friends, it's clearly the AMP folks too. Very tough. So here's some flow.
So with flow, as Dr. Mark alluded to, this is found in our everyday lives, and you must be able to find that key part of your life that gives you the sense of renewal and rejuvenation. Flow is that time when you feel connected, you feel empowered, you feel happy, you feel blissful, you feel at peace, and it can be at work, it can be at work, it can be at school, it can be with your family, it can be with puppies, it can be when you're dancing, when you're in athletics. And so we have some wonderful images of different things, including work. And we actually have some of our nursing students up in the lab up there who are exemplifying the experience of flow. But what we want you to do with this image, or the image of motorcyclists, which Mark and I are like, whoa, that's kind of our fantasy, is get on our bikes and go, is to think in terms of what are the times in your own life you felt flow, you felt at peace, you felt like I am in the right place, doing the right thing with the right people. So shout out, like you had to do before, some examples. I'm not going to pick on you, but I need for you to kind of get involved, because otherwise you don't get anything out of this. So what is it? Laying on the beach.
Laying on the beach.
In the, what kind of environment? Summer. Yes, laying on the beach in winter in Maine would not do it for me, but summer, yeah, where would you be?
California.
California, in the beach on summer. Okay, I'm there.
What else do you do that gets you into a state of flow?
Sports.
Sports.
And
Examples,
what-
please.
Specific.
Football?
Football. Excellent. And what are you doing during that time? Throwing, running, tackling?
Just playing with your teammates, stuff like that.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Kind of doing an autopilot but high intensity challenge, but within or stretching the edge of your skill set.
What else?
Hiking.
Oh, hiking. In the woods?
Great Canyon.
Oh, yes. This is good. This is big time.
There's been some research on the impact on younger people of deficit access to nature, with so much being online. So there really is increasing research that being in nature and that natural complexity really does kind of boost creativity and create some center.
And it doesn't have to be as exotic, but certainly Grand Canyon or going to California Beach are fabulous. You can also hike and do wonderful things right here. One of the benefits that I expect that students get on campus is when the weather's good, being able to actually walk outside between classes. You know, at least you get some connection with reality, fresh air, sunshine, and that's really rejuvenating. Other things that help you with flow, though.
Spending time with my family.
Being with your family. What are you doing?
Watching my niece play.
That's wonderful. Connecting with meaningful people like your family, watching a child play. It's wonderful.
Shopping.
Shopping. What kind of shopping? Online or face-to-face? Face-to-face shopping. She's a shopping flow person.
What about music? Anybody listen to music to get in the flow? Kind of get some input that's
Or
favorable?
performers? Any music performers?
Yeah.
Singers?
Yeah.
Musicians? No? Not at all? Really? Yes, there you go. Okay.
So the bottom line is, flow is one of those powerful human experiences, and it will occur in your work situation. But due to interruption, due to overload, due to that sense of loss of control, due to that sense of being burned out, where a person feels emotionally exhausted, they feel like they have lost their sense of purpose, and they no longer have a sense of personal accomplishment, that's when the positive aspect goes, and they really don't have that absorption and awareness. So with more burnout comes less flow, and typically less efficiency and less effectiveness. Let's see. What I would like you to do is we're going to do a very quick relaxation.
And this is risky at the end of the day with a bunch of college students. That's what
And as I say to the folks I do this with clinically, I say, if you snore, it's fine. On the other hand, if you do something like, you don't just launch yourself a sleep study. So we could offer you that, but I don't think they do that at student services. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do some relaxation, some imagery work, and then I'm going to ask you to do some sharing, and I'm going to give you some structure for how you're going to do that. So I'd like you to, maybe pair up with somebody nearby who you can talk to, rearrange. You can get up and move around if you want to. So, but I want you to be able to talk in pairs together. Make sense, folks? Get paired up and ready to go, and then we're going to give you some quick instructions. And if you're here alone, you'll still have to find another person, a human being, to work with. Thank you very much. Okay, as Dr. Suzanne said, this could be risky, then again, it's going to be useful. So what I'd like you to do is, if you're willing, I'd like you to close your eyes for the next few minutes. I'd like you to sit upright in your chair, no slumping. And then essentially open your hands, unclasp your hands, uncross your legs, sit with your shoulders pretty much over your hips. And what I'd like you to do, close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. I'd like you to now scan your body for tension and release it. Let it go. Let yourself relax. Then I'd like you to take a very deep breath in, using your abdomen, your rib cage, your shoulders to inhale. Hold that breath, and then let it go. Let your shoulders, your abdomen, your rib cage press all the air out of your lungs. Then one more deep breath, the same way, please. Hold it, and then let it go. Now you should feel more relaxed than when you started. One thing you can add to this, if you make this part of your regular practice, is to tense and release muscles. For instance, shrug your shoulders up just a little bit, about an inch. Hold that shrug. Notice the effort, and now please switch it off and let it go. Now, tense the shoulders just half as much, barely enough to move them up a little bit. Switch them off and let them go. And for the last time, tense them again just half as much. Probably not even enough to move them, but notice there's still some tension across your shoulders, maybe even the center of your upper back. Now switch it off and let it go. I'd like you to imagine, sort of like what we were just talking to you about, imagine that you are thinking of, you're visualizing a favorite cottage or house or home in your childhood. I'd like you to imagine, please, walking through it to count up how many windows it has. And when you've done that, I'd like you to imagine that you pick out your favorite window in this place, look through the window, and see what you can see. Imagine what you might see looking out that favorite window in this special place of childhood. Now what I'd like you to do is to take another deep breath as we did to begin. And then open your eyes again. Thank you. Now what I'd like you to do is take turns. I'd like one of you to decide who's going to be the first person to share. Another one will be the first person to listen. And then we'll have you reverse roles. What I'm going to do, just for the first time here, is who's our first listener? Okay, listeners, I'm going to ask you until I tell you to quit. I want you to only ask yes and no questions when they share, okay? And then when I'm done with that, I want you to go to natural, normal, open-ended listening. Make sense, folks? Go for it.
Okay, so you're the listeners. We'll work through it. Yeah. There were 12. And the house that it was is my two best friends. Ever since I was in third grade, we traveled trips up to third grade, every 4th of July, where we basically grew up there every summer. And I don't know, I looked out the window, I saw like the lake and like I thought it was just pretty cool how at one point I saw like different stages of like childhood. It was really cool. Like I don't know how this like started happening, but I started like envisioning like yeah, it was insane. Like okay, so I started when I was in third grade, and I remember like certain like moments, and then like it just kept progressing and older and older. It was actually really yeah. I really started visualizing like everything, so it was pretty cool. I thought like this like is activities.
Listener, do the sharing. Sharing person, do listening. Not that yes and no stuff. Go with it, restate it, open-ended questions. Proceed. I'll give you about 3 more minutes. Thank you.
not one of you were looking at your cell phone.
And you were paying attention to each
You
other.
were talking enthusiastically to someone else about something that was important to you. You know, I just think that's just really cool. Or just talking. I don't care what you're doing. But, you know, how was the image walking through the house? Did anybody go somewhere that surprised you?
Where'd you go? Real quick, fire away.
I went to my grandparents' house, and they both have been passed away for a while now, and the house is so old and everything. It's funny that that's where we always used to go when we were younger in summer.
What was out the window?
My mom and my grandma smoking on the porch, and the fact that they would already sleep to smoke stuff.
Yeah, it's just fun. But what really touched me about that, I went to my grandma's house too, and it's gone and maybe torn down, but it's never gone.
Right.
That's what's so cool about this exercise. These important places are always like so there that we can actually go to a window and look out of it. And I never looked out the window before that I looked out of it, but I knew what I was going to see.
Other windows?
So cool.
Other windows people look through? Tell us, please, share. Take a risk. Thank you.
I looked out of my two best friends' window of their cottage up north in the Medford area, and what was really interesting about mine is that when I looked out the window, we've been going up there since 3rd grade, so I was looking at like almost my childhood going from like 3rd grade, 4th grade. It was really weird, just random like moments from throughout the years were just like
Wow.
replaying out the window, so that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I saw a bush.
Say it again.
I saw a bush.
Was it green though?
No, it was red.
It was red, but it wasn't covered
It was
in
a
snow.
bush at my childhood home that I used to live at, and there was a desk in front of it, and it always grew so big that you couldn't see out the window. So all you saw was the red bush.
Oh, that's
The point here is there's a lot of foundational things you take for granted and you might leave behind, and that's one of the messages here. Did you enjoy talking with each other about this? Did you learn something about somebody else? How'd you like that yes-no crap I started yelling at? How'd that work for you?
The first question I asked was not yes and no.
The point here is you don't get people's story, you don't find what makes them tick with yes-no questions and check boxes. And that's what you've got to watch out for burnout. So, thank you.
And I, of course, knowing my husband rather well, I heard the story behind what he just said to you. Check boxes are what we experience in online charting in our patient care environment, where one of our big concerns is where is the patient's story in online charting. It's very difficult.
If you don't capture it as the nurse on the team, I can tell you right now that the primary care docs aren't in the hospital to help you capture it. So you better remember, you are the holistic healer and the high-tech person both, wherever you are. So thank you. Okay, you ready for this?
Yes, we did.
Did you have some empathy? Could you feel what your partner was talking about? Good. Good. You want to create that vessel so you can do all the technical stuff over here. And actually, the exercise does both parts of your brain. The counting numbers is your left hemisphere, mathematical, verbal, and linear. And then we brought your right hemisphere online to look out the window and imagine stuff that suddenly is quite emotional. So I think we threw it out on the irrational side. And then you were able to go somewhere in emotions. Okay, then, Tara, switch. I think we're going to I don't know if you've seen this before, except when we're trying to get it to run.
So,
This is from the Cleveland Clinic. This shows you pictures with the story, and I like it only because this is about your work. This is about your mission in the healthcare system.
we're hoping it's loud enough, and we're hoping it's not too loud, so either way you're going to deal with it. Just pay attention.
is a central part of your job. Has to, otherwise you really are vulnerable for burnout. So you lose the person, and the rest of it can get pretty empty. So, thank you. Anybody else sort of appreciate this? Because really, it's kind of empathic imagination. If you don't use empathy, if you don't get the story and realize you're the holder of the story as well as the person starting and monitoring the idea, if you don't get that sorted out, you're not going to be fully invested, I think, in it all. All right, toxic communication is what we want to finish talking about, because that's the thing that really can sort of keep people burned out and hurting.
So one of the things that I'm keenly aware of is that many of us do not intend to be violent in our communications, and you may do so intentionally, or you may be the recipient of bullying. And the bullying does not have to be blatant. It can be kind of subtle. One of the things I want to make perfectly clear is that nurses are entirely capable of being unfair or bullying others. And so you are not always victims. Believe me, I have seen this. I've worked intensive care for many, many years, and I have seen nurses bully each other, bully doctors. And so you need to be really aware this is a two-way street. So this is not intended to be a downer, but this is intended to be enlightening for you to realize that we all need to be open to be self-aware of our actions, our thoughts, and our behaviors.
One of the areas I'm very aware of in the Veterans Administration has become more aware of is how horrendously traumatizing it is to be betrayed by one's own trusted team. MST, military sexual trauma. This affects male and female veterans. And it really is insidious, and it tends to get very suppressed. And if you start to feel like my trust is being injured, you need to reaffirm connections, and we're going to talk about how you need to work through that. The things you need to watch out for: triangulation. You come to the unit and they say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." But you know, the people on second shift, they are losers. They're total losers. They're incompetent, and we're always having to, get stuff tied up. So don't you ever associate with them.
It's also called throwing your colleagues under the bus. And that is never good. It never pays off. Whatever you think it's going to get you, it's not a good thing.
And factions, splitting, scapegoating, stereotyping, depersonalizing. That's why we wanted you to watch the film. So you can always default to that. I don't care how much political faction there is, you can come on board and be the person who listens to everyone, respects what they have to say, and learns from even the person who's the most cynical and burned out. Oftentimes, burned out is where their caring got suppressed. And if they realize you're trying to learn from them, suddenly, things will break down.
We have a very, very, very short video clip that's so important. It's from the American Nurses Association.
Hello, I'm Pam Cipriano, President of the American Nurses Association. Nurses expect to work in environments where they will be treated with civility, kindness, dignity, and respect. But here's the hard truth. Bullying and workplace violence are real problems in healthcare. Violence in any form should not be tolerated from any source. Nurses and employers must work together to create strategies that will shift the culture to one of civility and respect, where bullying is not tolerated and where violence prevention and safety measures are a priority. ANA has released a new position statement on workplace violence and bullying that offers recommendations, including setting a zero-tolerance policy, encouraging employees to report violent incidents, and developing a comprehensive violence prevention program. Creating this type of culture helps protect the health, safety, and wellness of nurses, and that's in everyone's best interest. Learn more about this issue and get resources to create best practices at nursingworld.org. ANA cares about you.
Working together, we can create a safer and healthier work environment.
This is a fabulous website. You have the one handout that she showed on the screen that is going to be a really good resource for you. Some practical ideas for how to work and be your very best. So I think at this point, one thing that I would love to do is to find out if any of you or any of you willing to share any interactions. Maybe they rise to the level of bullying, or maybe they don't, that you would be able to give us an example of something you've experienced. Got to be brave.
Have you been bullied or teased online? Have people said crap about you on Facebook or social media? Have you seen people not getting together to get a job done? Not necessarily healthcare at this point.
I don't know. Have you heard of anybody that's been there? Yes, thank you.
I guess, well, this goes hand in hand, but like today is Spread the Word Another Day for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I was really involved with the group at school that did that. So I saw it all the time. A bunch of people at our school would just tease and mock kids that had disabilities, and they would use the word retarded. So I thought of that one just because today.
Yes, absolutely.
That's exactly right.
It's incredibly powerful and hurtful to see that and witness that. So what do you do when people bully other people? What do you do when you observe that or you're around that? Do nurses have any accountability, or are you legally bound to do anything about bullying or when other people are hurting anybody? Well, I would say absolutely. Absolutely. Do no harm, do your best to support people. You are not only the examples, but you are accountable and professionally and morally and ethically accountable and liable to help other people and to do your best. If you see people being bullied, if you see people being the victim of bullying, you need to intercede. Absolutely. That is part of our job as nurses. Absolutely. It's not comfortable. It's certainly not fun. One of the handouts that we gave you is very, very practical. It makes it simple and makes it real. It's this one that says bullying and veterans strategies. First of all, the best thing to do is to prevent bullying. So you want to become familiar with your employer bullying policies if you're at a job site, wherever you're working in whatever role. You need to be aware. You need to ask, what are your policies on bullying in this agency? Establish an agreed upon code word to seek support when feeling threatened. You might want to reach out to your buddy. Remember I said your smart buddy, your friend, and or your boss to figure out what would be the thing you could say to get you out of an environment. Practice using responses to prepare or deflect the incivility of bullying. What are some of the things you can do when people are bullying you or picking on you? One thing that I had, a dear friend of Becky's and mine, our previous dean, Dr. Rosemary Smith, was such a fabulous teacher and mentor, and I hold her so close in my heart. And she taught me this, especially like if people are coming in my office yelling at me, which happens. I know it's hard to believe that anyone would not love me, but they do. So if I'm sitting there, she said, you stand up and you very quietly say, stop. Get out of my office. We will continue this discussion and you can be civil. Oh, I've used that so many times. It's very simple. Now you don't want to get too close. You don't want to like get in their space. You want to stand where you are, very quietly and in a very non-threatening way. Smile if you need it. Put your hand up. Say, stop. I need you to leave my office. And we can continue the conversation, or you can be civil. If you practice that a lot, it kind of becomes automatic. It works really, really well. Anybody have any other ideas? You've never had any conflicts? You've never had anybody pick on you? You've never experienced bullying? Oh my goodness, I am with a sainted group of people.
But you're going to be at a unit sometime where they're going to say, oh my gosh, our chargers, our unit manager, our administration, they suck. I hate what they do. It drives me crazy. I just need to talk to you about it. Maybe you can talk to them about how upset I am. Don't do it. People need to have their own communication. I do this kind of work also in church groups too, where people can form factions and not talk one-on-one about how to resolve differences or how to find common ground. So that actually is part of what nursing teams and healthcare teams need to work on. Because when it breaks down, okay.
So sorry.
No,
If you guys, no, if you guys could please go. So remember, bullying contributes to burnout, and burnout reduces your sense of flow, and burnout and no flow shorten your career, and how to survive and renew. Really, think about monitoring your threat and affirming the values that you hold dear to your heart. Build supportive relationships. Culture. Lead by example. Really try and be the person that endorses hope. You need to be the beacon that may be different than everyone else. And I guarantee people will flock to you. Develop a community and really try and be the person that has best practice, to absorb the best practice of others rather than teach others.
Listen to everybody, learn from everybody.
That's right.
Everybody will want to learn from you.
And work within your agency, within your group to develop policies that help protect people and support advocacy and that are very practical. Online resources are here. We're not going to go through that, but you've got it linked on your paper and the ANA position paper. There is just tons and tons of research out there and information to help you.
This has become mega current in the last 5 or 6 years.
And you're not alone. Never be alone. You always have the College of Nursing, even after